Hello and welcome to the channel. Despite the apex courts in Nigeria, the Supreme Court, ordering the federal government against enforcing the February 10 deadline for Naira swap until the hearing of the case on February 15, it has now emerged that not only petrol stations and several businesses across the country are refusing to accept the old Naira notes. Now, some commercial banks have joined the list of those not accepting the old notes, saying they were obeying the directives of the Apex Bank, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. This is the height of, what's the word? Contempt, is it? Yeah, contempt. Non-compliance with a court ruling, which threatens the rule of law and undermines the public confidence in our legal system. It is undemocratic. A leopard never changes its skin, and despite President Buhari's best attempt to mask it, that he is all for democracy and all of that, he is still a trained soldier and a military man true and true. If this doesn't prove it, the continuous detention of the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu, despite being acquitted by an appeal court, certainly does. Well, let's get to the details then. Subscribe, like, share, and comment. Thank you. Naira deadline. Banks, fuel stations reject old notes, ignore Supreme Court order. Some commercial banks and filling stations have stopped collecting the whole Naira notes from customers, contrary to the ruling of the Supreme Court, restraining the federal government from enforcing the February 10 time limit earlier fixed by the Apex Bank for the currency swap. Findings by the Punch on Monday indicated that the banks refused to accept the old 1,000 Naira, 500 Naira and 200 Naira notes from depositors and point-of-service agents who flooded the bank to lodge their cash. Point-of-service operators and other bank customers whose old Naira notes were rejected panicked as bank officials who said they were acting on the Central Bank of Nigeria's directive remained adamant. Also, lawyers and litigants at high courts in Lagos State were unable to file their court processes using the whole Naira notes for payment. As the Naira crisis worsened, the CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele again met with the President, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, retired, at the presidential villa on Monday. Emefiele, who had met with the President about 6 times since the Naira crisis started, failed to address correspondents as he reportedly left the villa through a side entrance. The governments of Kaduna, Kogi and Zamfara states on February 8 secured the order of the Apex Court, extending the deadline beyond last Friday stipulated by the CBN for the use of the old notes. A 7-member panel of the Apex Court, led by Justice John Okoro, directed that the deadline be suspended till Wednesday, when the proceedings would continue, even as other states had applied to join the suit. But our correspondent who visited the mobile filling station at First Gate bus stop along Lagos-Badagry Expressway observed that the attendants refused to accept the whole Naira notes on Monday. Checks also showed that banks in the Ikeja area of Lagos State refused to collect the old notes from customers. Some frustrated and desperate customers were seen making frantic calls to their friends and loved ones, intimating them of the development. Speaking to the Punch on condition of anonymity because he was not authorized to speak on the latest development, a staff member of First Bank PLC said that they were instructed not to collect the old Naira notes. Our correspondent noticed that only customers who had new Naira notes were allowed into the banking hall. Also in the Badagry area of Lagos, several bank customers and POS agents who visited banks on Monday were shocked to learn that the banks were not accepting the whole notes. A resident who identified himself simply as Mr. Julius said the branches of Access Bank and UBA in the town refused to accept the whole currencies from depositors. Speaking to our correspondent on the phone, he said, "What is happening in this country? My wife visited UBA only to be informed that the bank was no longer accepting the whole notes." Some POS agents who visited Access Bank were also informed that the bank was no longer accepting the whole notes based on a directive from the CBN. "I thought the Supreme Court ruled that the notes are still legal tender," he said. A Sterling Bank official said banks in the Marlborough area of Ogun State had shut down as a result of the scarcity of cash. Findings also indicate that some banks in Abuja, the capital city, have stopped accepting the hold notes. Officials who spoke to our correspondent said the policy was in line with a directive from the Apex Bank, noting that they did not know anything about the Supreme Court's order. At a Zenith Bank branch located in the Central Business District, customers who had the hold notes could not deposit them as officials blatantly refused to accept them. A bank official stated, "We are not collecting hold notes again. The deadline was on Friday. The memo I saw yesterday, Sunday, directed that we should not collect 1,000 Naira and 500 Naira hold notes anymore. We even had to dispatch all our hold currency on Friday to the central bank. We obey our regulators, not the Supreme Court." Subscribe, like, share, comment, and please turn the notification bell on. Thank you. At the GT Bank close to the Ministry of Transport, our correspondent got the same response. "We are no longer receiving the hold notes. We are working with the CBN on anything they say is what we do," a female cashier declared. When reminded about the 7-day grace period announced by the CBN governor, she noted, "We don't know anything about it. The deadline has elapsed and we are working with the CBN." However, a UBA branch at the CBD Abuja allowed some customers to deposit their old notes. A customer confessed that he had to call a senior official before he was allowed to deposit his old Naira notes. But the GTB and First Bank branches in the Jabi district flatly refused to accept the whole notes. The same situation was observed in Ado Ekiti, the Ekiti state capital, as many residents were frustrated by the banks and filling stations which refused to collect the whole notes. Ironically, some filling stations also rejected cash transfers even though they did not provide POS, as they insisted on the new notes. A bank customer, Tokbe Adeiton, said, "It was a hell of a day for me today. I was at a bank along Bank Road to make withdrawals, but I was told I could only withdraw 5,000 Naira across the counter, which I did because I had no option. I could not say whether the bank was collecting hold notes or not, but I did not see a single note of the hold 200 Naira, 500 Naira and 1,000 Naira with anybody throughout my stay in the bank. And at a petrol station, I had thought I would use my ATM card or my bank app to pay for fuel, only to be told I would have to pay with the new notes. So I had to use the money I collected from the bank. The petrol dealers are just interested in selling the new Naira notes to POS operators for a quick profit." That's the news, guys. Thanks for listening. Until next time, bye.